Welcome to The Jewish Lens, a podcast to discuss anything and everything from a Jewish perspective. Now, please help me welcome the man who controls the media, your host, Jonathan Rosen.
Hello, and welcome to another edition of The Jewish Lens. I'm Jonathan Rosen, and today I am thrilled to welcome the director of the brand new comedy, Bad Shabbos. Please help me welcome Daniel Robbins. Daniel, thanks so much for joining me today.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Jonathan.
We have a lot to cover, but I usually like to start by going back. So tell me a little about your childhood. Did you grow up in an observant household at all?
Um, yeah, I grew up in it was modern Orthodox. So parents mostly kept Shabbos, mom a little more than my dad, and I'm somewhere in between. And then I went to yeshiva growing up.
Oh, but you
So
in New York?
yeah, New York, so Westchester Day School, and then high school I went to Ramaz, which is this modern Orthodox school in the city.
I know Ramaz, yes.
Yeah,
So
great place.
what is mostly this? It's like if the TV's on, I could watch it.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Like if it's a Yankees playoff game, the TV might find its way on. Um, and yeah, that's pretty much the bar.
I'm sorry to hear that you're a Yankees fan, but no. Right?
That's okay. The team's back now. They lost Soto, but they made up for it.
Well, they lost it. I'm a Mets fan, so that's why.
Oh, you're a Mets fan in
Yes.
Florida. Okay.
Well, I'm from Brooklyn originally, so moved here many years ago. But the Mets stay. So when did you first start showing an interest in filmmaking?
It started junior year of high school, where in our school, a couple of kids in each grade make videos for assemblies. And I ended up being that kid junior year. And I made videos with my friends Daniel Goldschmidt, Poppy Merkin, Mikey Gelfand, Mark Rappaport, and it was just so much fun. And when something lights you up, you can feel it, and it just felt like nothing that I've done before. And before that, I thought I would kind of go more engineering, but this just gave me a little more energy, and
A
I
little
kind of
spark.
liked yeah, I just liked everything about it, and I thought, I'd take the crazy chance to try to make it work.
Was there anyone like in your family that was like interested in this that pushed that into you, or you just picked this up in your own life?
Not really. I mean, I would go to movies with my parents and siblings. And friends and friends' dads would show me some old movies, but it was really just from high school, just making those videos.
So who are some of your influences? Who are some of the people that you liked as a kid growing up?
Who did I like as a kid growing up in terms
Yeah,
of filmmakers
film.
or family members?
Let's go film.
For film, the main influences are kind of the comedy greats. So that's Mel Brooks, Woody Allen, Ernst Lubitsch, Mike Nichols. But I also love, some of the more contemporary people like Christopher Nolan, Todd Phillips. Spielberg is still the greatest of all time. Just really anyone who puts entertainment first, can make you laugh and then also infuse it with some authenticity and heart.
So you started doing this in high school. So did you do this in college as well? Did you start taking this film as like a major in college?
Yeah, and then through college, I made videos with Mikey Gelfand, Mark Rappaport, my friend Mike,
Yeah.
Zach Wiener, and we started a YouTube channel, made a bunch of comedy shorts, probably like 20 to 22 of them. Some have more views than others. And then when we graduated, we wanted to make a comedy movie because that's kind of the goal. And then I spoke to a producer who said if we did that, we'd lose all our money. So I said, well, what do we do? And he said, make a horror movie. So we made this
I've heard
werewolf
the same
movie.
thing, by the way. That horror is
Yeah.
much easier.
So we did it. We made a werewolf movie. It was okay. But it shows ambition. It's well made. I think everyone involved did a great job. And then off that, me and my friends figured out how to make a better horror movie. And then our second film, Pledge, did a little stronger.
Can ask about Pudge. Yeah, I'm going to get to that. So how did you get your start exactly? So you came out of school. So you started like what connections did you make to start getting your start in this?
Well, it always seemed like there's no real ladder to try to make movies. You just have to force yourself into it. So me and my friends, we just raised 100K to make a horror movie. And, we told people that even if it's bad, you'll probably get close to your money back because it's
Right.
hard. You can't go like you won't probably won't lose 100%. And that was enough that family and friends helped us out. And then we also put in some of our own. and we got that movie made, and then it made it to Netflix back in the early days,
Oh, that's
and then
fantastic.
kind of
You
gave
make it sound
us.
so simple. We just raised 100K. It's like,
No, it's hard, but also 100 isn't like the craziest
right.
number. If you have like three friends and you put in 20, another friend puts in 20, another friend puts in 10, you're already halfway there. And then you can just sell shares for 2K and you could ask like
Oh, that's fantastic. So, so one of the things I saw that you did to start was like the documentary, the convenient job. So can you tell me
oh
about that a
yeah.
little bit?
That was made actually before Uncaged, where me, Mark, Mikey, and also Zach has a small cameo where we just tried to make a movie for nothing. So the budget of that was, I guess, buying the camera for 3K. And that was just a mockumentary that we shot, edited, and showed to people. And the first test screening of that was I spent a year editing this thing. We spent
Wow.
2 summers shooting it. And I was like, this is great. It's so funny. We screened it to some friends who were honest, and it did not go well. The movie was not that good and it felt awful. Um, but we kept going and editing and eventually got it to a place where it's pretty good, but it still wasn't at a place where, it could really be distributed. So it's just private on YouTube right now, but we might
Oh,
unprivate it at a point.
well, it's if the bigger you get, that then I would think you would want to just to like see how far you've come and everything.
Yeah, I actually think it's unlisted, but it's fun that it's this random thing that only when people ask us for the link, we send it to them and they're like, this is pretty good. It's my brother's favorite movie that I've done so far, but I think also because he knows everyone involved, there's like a level of involvement that other people won't have.
But you said you showed it to your friends and it did not go. How are you with taking critique? Like, so like a lot of some artists like, oh, tell me if I want to know if something's not good, I want to know it. And others like, oh my God, that's killing me. So how are you with it?
Yeah, I think that's my strongest point is that I ask for a lot of criticism and I'm
Mm, of
really good at taking it. Even with that, it still hurts when you get hit with it.
course.
But, criticism is care, that if people are sharing their true
Yeah.
thoughts with you, they only do that if they actually care about you, usually. And it's the only way to really get better. So even though it's a rough thing, with every movie we do test screenings like constantly to really make sure these things are tight. And each one is, it's tough until it gets to the end and everyone's loving it and it's just a good time. But those early ones are tricky.
I know the feeling. I'm a writer, so I know that feeling well. So,
Yeah.
so I look at your career so far, and it's like extremes. You have the documentary, and then there's the horror movie, which is talked about Pledge. So, how did Pledge come about, and how did you go from directing, I guess, documentaries to then being entrusted? Let me do the horror film.
Well, no one trusted me. It was just we were, if you the only barrier to really making something is getting an amount of money where it can be
Right.
made.
Okay.
Uh, so then after on Cage, we made Pledge, which the budget for that was around 180, which is
Mhm.
higher. But because people got their money back on Cage,
They're
and
more
we
willing to
involved,
jump in.
yeah, we involved, and that idea just came from Zach, who came up with the idea in college of a frat that hazes people. And it turns out that the frat is actually a cult that's trying to kill you.
I love
And
the
that premise
concept.
is just so electric. And it's also, low budget. You have to stick to one location. And the frat house is almost the entire film.
Right.
So it's that could be done on a low budget. And it was an idea that makes people want to see the movie. So it just seemed like this has to be the next thing we make. And also the idea has some comedy in it, which we wanted to try to infuse a little bit, where it's kids in college and the nerds being hazed. So we knew it would be a little funny. We just put everything into it and just made that the summer of 2014, 2016.
So, and you won Best Director at Screen Press for it. So, what's that like when you realize that you're being honored for like this prestigious organization that you're being honored for something that you've done?
It's nice because you don't know if you're really good. You can have some level of, a lot. It could just be delusion until people validate it. So
Um,
it's nice to see.
well, that was a nice start. That was a nice push for you. So let's talk about Bad Shabbos. So, first, let's start with the story. Besides directing it, you also co-wrote it. So I love the trailer. I mentioned to you, I have it. I'm dying to see it there and the story. So for those who don't know, can you talk a little about what the story is, what the plot is?
Yeah, the plot is I guess it's a comedy about a Jewish boy who brings over his Christian girlfriend for the night. Well, fiance. I'm really botching this. I've been
Yeah.
practicing so long. So it's this Jewish boy who brings over his Christian fiance for Shabbat dinner. And what makes this night special is it's the first time her Christian parents are going to meet his Jewish parents. And it's this right as her parents are about to show up, something crazy happens that the family has to maybe cover up or recover from. Uh, and it leads to this like zany meet the parents type of film that has gotten, audiences really laughing out loud, which is nice.
Well, so how did the story come about? So you wrote with this with a partner I was reading. So, so how did the story come about? What prompted this story? What led to the story, the impetus of this?
Yeah, the story came from Adam Mitchell, the producer, where he was talking to Zach, the co-writer, and Zach and his family had these very lively Shabbat dinners. And sometimes they'll prank a guest. And Adam had the idea of Zach, what if we make a movie about one of your Shabbat dinners where this prank ends up in someone dying? And they told me that idea. And when you hear an idea that you immediately want to watch, that's a good indicator you should probably work on it. And that's a movie that I would watch tonight, where if we can get a movie that shows the authentic chaotic energy of a modern Orthodox Shabbat dinner and mix that with a genre movie of dealing with a dead body, that could just be such a funny thing. And then all these elements started falling into place and it clicked together in this perfect way, which doesn't always work out.
I think it looks fantastic. I mean, look, I love dark, you know, comedy too. And just as soon as I saw the first trailer, I was like, look, oh my God, I got to see this movie, first of all.
Yeah.
So, and plus, the Jewish element. So there are always pros and cons to collaborating with someone on a story. So I've written alone, I've written with others. So just, how tough is it for you when you might have like a slight disagreement on how the story should proceed? Like, how is that resolved?
Um, Usually it's resolved by whoever's the most passionate usually wins out. And if for some reason it's even, then director usually gets the final decision. But if Adam, the producer, and Zach are on a side and I'm on the other side, two against one, and we lean in their direction. So it varies, but it's a good problem to have when you're arguing with people because it just sharpens all the ideas and makes the movie great.
So, that's fantastic. Like, if you guys say like, oh, trust me on this one, trust me, like people would defer to that.
Yeah, that if someone's so passionate about it, there must be something there that the other people are missing.
Did all of you have like similar backgrounds with regard to Judaism and everything?
Mostly, we're all modern Orthodox. Adam a
Mhm.
little less so, but he's grew up in New York City, so he has the city experience that I don't have growing up in the suburbs. So together, we all made
Where'd you
this
grow up around?
in like Scarsdale, North Shelley area.
So, so let's look at this cast. I'm some of these names are made like Kyra Sedgwick, Method Man, David Paymer, and Milana Vainra. I reached out to her as well, and Josh Mostel. So, among many others. So, how did you start getting everyone involved in this film? And I especially have to hear how Method Man got involved.
That the credit goes to Adam and our casting directors, Seth White, Cody Beek, Daniel Frankel, where they got the script to these people's agents. They believed that the script could get this kind of love, and the agents read it or managers read it and liked it, and then handed it to their clients who took the chance and read the script, which was so nice because, reading takes a lot of effort and attention. And the fact that we're not kids, but we've just made two low budget horrors, but they really gave us the benefit of the doubt here. So I'm always going to be grateful to this
Who
cast
was the
for
first one that came on board?
John Bass, the lead,
Mhm.
because we just knew like he's kind of a unicorn where he can be so funny in such an authentic way where some people just always feel like they're reaching for jokes, but he always gets the jokes in a truthful way, which is it's just a superpower, like either have it or not. So we knew we just wanted him and we offered it to him. He read it, liked it, and once he was on board, I think people read the script with a little more gravity and they're like, okay, it's not a completely random thing. John Bass is involved. So I think we got considered a little more seriously. And then these talented people just read it, saw the potential that we saw, and we're down to make this indie New York.
But what's your reaction when the yeses start coming in? Like, like you like talk like, oh my God, Method Man is involved now and Kyra Sedgwick's involved now. Like, what do you start thinking at that point?
Um, it's a little shocking because you just don't expect you'll be working with these people, but um, I don't know. We just thought they'd be great for the role, and that we knew deep down that we'd make a great movie and they'd all be happy. So it never felt like we were getting one over on them. It felt like, oh yeah, this they're going to be great in this and they're going to be happy. So we were never really nervous, but there was an element of surprise, I guess.
With each one. So but you didn't have anyone specific in mind for casting. Right? You just went kind of like, hey, how about this person? Is that how it went?
Yeah, when we wrote it, no one was really in mind, but then casting, me, Adam, the casting directors, we make the list and then say, okay, we'll start with the top. They'll probably say no, and then we work our way down. But all of our top choices, like said yes. It was shocking.
You don't have to mention names. Was there anyone that you really wanted that like you couldn't get or anything like that?
Um, no, there's one other person we were considering for a role who I don't want to say names,
Right.
who
No, no.
we're like, well, when we were writing, we had this guy in mind, but once we got to the page, or once we read it, there was the actor we got, we think is actually much better for it.
So
So, God's plan.
taking nothing away from your earlier work, so you start feeling pressure now that you have like, hey, I'm directing Kyra Sedgwick. I'm directing Method Man. It's like, this is all of a sudden like this big boost. Oh, is there like any sort of pressure for you at that point?
I think day one there's pressure, but I've made a few movies by this point, and I just feel very confident in being very prepared on set and knowing how to make an environment where people can do their best work. And as long as I do those two things, like it's going to go well. So
So
I was
once the first
never,
day started going, you started feeling more at ease with
yeah.
everyone's
And on the
attitude.
first movie, you're nervous for things to go wrong, but once you deal with a lot of these fires, you're not even that nervous that fires will come because you know that you'll be able to deal with it if it comes.
No,
So
it's great. But it's described when we talk about it. And look, it described as a dark comedy. It certainly looks it. I like I just mentioned. I love dark comedy. I write dark comedy. So, were there any ideas that you had for this that you ultimately decided, no, I can't put that in?
um, anything we thought was funny kind of made it in there, and anything we thought was good. We ended up cutting one or two prayers just because we didn't want to overdo it, and we wanted to make sure this plays for non-Jews first and foremost, because that's, the main part of your audience. We know that
Fine.
people will like it. And the other element is we cut, I feel like a lot of Jewish content or the in the comedy realm could become a little corny, where they'll make jokes about saying a word in Yiddish really loudly, or saying gefilte fish in a funny voice, or talking overly loud. And we just tried to cut all that out and make a more grounded film that feels like a Woody Allen movie or The Hangover, where the performances are more authentic and the humor is coming from a real place rather than actors trying to underline jokes to get you to laugh.
The like I said, it's such a. I think horror and comedy go together very well. Like I said, I like writing that type of thing. So after making Pledge, like, is there a difficult transition in your mind that, hey, I was working like this horror film, and but you try to infuse some humor. But is there like a different mindset and transition that now I'm working focusing more on the comedy?
It's much harder. It's similar in that the approach on set is similar, where my priority is always the actors and performance, where I want those to be the best things possible, and I'll sacrifice camera, lighting, mise en scène, whatever it is, just to make them be the best they can be. So on a horror movie, that means you do a take with the script, you give notes, and then you experiment and try different things. And that's kind of the same approach I took to the comedy. But the difference is that comedy is a lot harder. where horror, as long as you get the timing right, uh, the gag will land. Where if someone jumps out from behind a wall, as long as they jump out at the right time, it doesn't matter if they jump out with their hands up or their hands down, or if their face is small or big, it's going to make the person afraid. But with a comedy, you have to get the timing exactly right. And then the actor has to say the line in the most precise way
Right.
possible. That is a little unpredictable. It looks like it was easy. If they say too loud, it might not be funny. If it's too slow, it might not be funny. If the actor's a little too tall, it changes the power dynamic and it's not funny. So the line, I guess the bullseye of getting something to work is a lot smaller. Uh, so it helped that we had a cast that was ridiculous because
Oh yeah.
otherwise none of this works.
You have some really great comedic actors in there too. So the film is now making
Gene.
its rounds to the film festival. So it was recently like it's in my neck of the woods right now in Delray. So and it won the audience award in Tribeca. So how
Uh,
surreal is that to win an award for your film? Can you talk a little about the festival itself and what that experience was like? Bringing in Tribeca there.
yeah, I've been rejected by them for previous
Did
films
it
with
really?
yeah, well also the previous stuff, it was horror and we also didn't
Okay.
have the same level of cast in it. Uh, but it was great to get in because we filmed this in New York and this was the festival we wanted because it's the New York festival. Friends and family can come. Most of the cast and crew are New York. So we were excited to show there, and then we really didn't know how it would go because people say, "Oh, comedies don't work anymore," or everyone just wants horror. But we just, the only comps you have is what you like, and we just said we really like this. The cast, the crew really liked it, and we hoped it would play. And then when we started screening there, everything started selling out. It
Oh,
like the audience was dying laughing. You're supposed to get three screenings there, but they gave us a fourth one because all of them sold out. And then the fourth one sold out. And then because we won the audience award, they gave us a fifth one that nearly sold out. So the word just spread that there's this funny movie that people liked. And people just came and then voted, which was sweet. We also, I think, had a hometown advantage with the audience award, where like the premiere was probably 80% people we know.
oh.
So I think that probably helped. I don't think it's the only factor, but I think we have to acknowledge it.
Did you start getting a sense before the festival that, hey, I think this is pretty good? I mean, yes, of course you made it, you have those feelings, but did you start getting that sense ahead of time?
From the test screenings, yeah, that showing to people who are really honest with us would come and say, the same friends who said my convenient job wasn't good were coming to this one 10 years later and they said, I think finally this one worked out. Even my friend Josh, he said that he told his wife that if Robbins keeps bringing us out to these test screenings in Brooklyn, he has to start making good movies. And finally, this one was great.
That's a great line. So,
Yeah.
no, no, so as we're watching the film, are there any good anecdotes about making the film that we can like, oh, that when we're watching it, say, oh, this happened here. Daniel said that this is the part that this happened behind the scenes.
Yeah, I mean, there's a million. Like it's actors coming up with a line that made the whole joke work. It's filming in a real apartment on the 16th floor and having to get every actor and item up there, which was nearly impossible.
You filmed this
But
in a regular apartment building, and
yeah, it was just a real 16th floor apartment, which was crazy because there's not a lot of space.
oh my gosh. So,
Yeah, but it also made it fun because when you're not filming, you're just hanging out with people because there's no place to be alone.
and it was filmed in
Uh,
New York.
yeah, it was filmed in New York on the Upper West Side.
Uh-huh.
And even the actors too, they mostly shared two rooms. And I think, I mean, you don't go into it. I don't think people say, "Oh, that's what I want." But I think once we're there, it's just fun that you go down, you can sit around and talk about, your love life, what's going on, like if what's the next thing you're working on, or just random things about the movie.
Is it tough for you being like, you starstruck at all by anyone saying like, oh, I want to ask about their careers, and you had to hold back?
I think day one, then I was a little starstruck just because I think I was more nervous that I just wanted to make sure that, first impressions are strong. So I just wanted to make sure day one went well. But beyond that, I try not to, ask them about all that stuff because I just view myself on set as
Like,
like the chief servant, where anything I can do to make them great is what I'm going to do. and me just going through their filmographies, or I don't want to distract from that. But I
Right.
guess leading up to it, I would ask them about certain projects.
I'd be all tempted to start asking Josh Mostel about all his growing up and everything.
Oh yeah, he's amazing in it.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So, do you have any bad Shabbos stories of your own?
Um, None that I can think of. I mean, the thing about Shabbos is it's every week, so you're gonna have some you're gonna have some rough ones where people are fighting. You're gonna have some loving ones. You're gonna have some ones where it might just be you and one other person. You might have some big ones, but you keep showing up. And
You still get together regularly with your family for Shabbat?
yeah, whether it's family, friends, you mix it up.
Growing up, that was I had to be home for Shabbat. I could go out afterwards, but we had to be home for Shabbat always.
The best Rabbi Sachs credits it with the main tradition that's kept Judaism thriving through all these years.
I don't disagree with that. So now we're talking about it's been in a couple of places. So does the film go out into wide release, and when does it go out for wide release?
Now the film is playing in Del Rey,
Right.
movies in Del Rey. That's the first theater our distributor wanted to hit. And then we're playing Miami Jewish Film Festival in January,
Oh,
and then
fantastic.
opening in Miami and Coral Gables late January. And we're going to keep playing at all of these Florida theaters through the winter. Then in the spring, expand to other cities. So we'll see, what's going on
You're coming
elsewhere.
back down to Florida for that?
Yeah, yeah, I was here for the Q&A, and I'll be back. I think even this week and late
I'll have,
January.
I'll have to go there and I look forward to that. I'll come by and say hi.
Yeah, Movies of Del Rey, it's a party. We had their biggest opening weekend since COVID, and then our second weekend was even bigger than the first.
Oh, that's great. So you co-wrote the screenplay. What advice do you give to people who are looking to do the same type of thing, to break in like that?
Mm. Say two, well, three things. One is come up with an amazing idea
Mhm.
because I've seen scripts that sold just because the idea was good and execution wasn't even that good. So don't just start working on something, make it an idea that people would want because that is more than half the battle. Two is consistency over intensity,
Mhm.
where writing 3 pages a day and sticking to that is a lot more impactful than trying to push for 10 every day and then burning out. And the third is you just gotta keep writing, reading scripts, and getting good. It takes a long time. We, Me and Zach, we have a friend who I think he's 40, and he just had the biggest spec sale of the year on his 30th script.
Oh, wow.
And
Just keep
before
plugging
that,
away.
he was just writing every day. Uh, but it's a grind. And then if you can write things that could be made, because I think if I wrote Uncaged as a script, I mean, we did write it as a script, but if we had that script, the Pledge script, the Bad Shabbos script, people wouldn't care that much. But once it's made, um, it gives it a level of this thing exists and people pay attention to it and they're more likely to watch a movie than read a script. So if you can write something that could be made, but
It's
I know
easier
it's
to make it and a lower budget, perhaps.
yeah, low budget is the whole game.
So what are you working on next?
Now there are like three or four comedy ideas, and we'll see which one hits. There's like couples therapy, a Hanukkah heist, a rom-com, a chess boxing movie. Uh, so I just, we'll see.
Hopefully this opens many doors for you then.
That'd be nice.
So how can people follow you and Bad Shabbos on social media?
We don't have a social media for Bad Shabbos yet, just because me and the producer are saying, you do it, you do it. So at some point we'll have one, but you can follow me at Dan Rob with two B's 11 on Instagram. I think that's pretty much it.
Well, like I said, first of all, I want to thank you for coming on, taking the time today. The movie looks
You,
fantastic.
Dan.
I can't wait to go see it, and hopefully I'll go see it while you're in Florida there too. So I'll run by. But it looks. I wish you a lot of luck with this one.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. Thank you so much for, just putting word out about these movies and independent film. It makes a big difference. It's hard
Well, I
to
hope. I hope it
out
looks
there.
it looks great. Well, again, this has been the Jewish Lens. I'm Jonathan Rosen, and again, a very special thanks to Daniel Robbins. And please like, comment, and subscribe.
Thanks for tuning in to the Jewish Lens, where all items used was strictly kosher.